Bobby, thanks so much for the time, man. We really appreciate it.
All right, good to see you again.
All right, so let's go over last week's games first. I know you guys had a crazy one on your air with the Holy Bowl.
Yeah.
I know that one obviously stuck out, but anything else out of week 2, but what the UIL calls week 1 really stick out to you?
Well, I think we talked about it last week. Wagner, can they stay with Judson? They proved that they could.
Yeah.
I think that's a good sign to come for Wagner. And I don't think that it's a negative sign against Judson that they didn't blow them out. It just says that Wagner is a real team to contend with in 5A Division I.
Plus, it's one of those rivalry games. Even though we're in
sure.
different classifications now, it's, when those kids get together, they know each other. They grew up together, and it's one of those type games, too. You're right. It says a lot about Wagner. It doesn't say a whole lot about Judson in the negative respect. I totally agree with you. Your game, Central Catholic and Holy Cross. My, oh, my.
You got to love that. Coach Harrison said, what the heck, they scored late in the game. Go for the win. Go for the win. Go for the win. Go for 2. They got it. Barely. Replay, it depends on whose replay you're looking at as to whether they got in or not, but they got the 2-point conversion, and that's a big win for Holy Cross. It's 4 straight over Central Catholic, and great crowd at Alamo Stadium. That's a special rivalry.
And you mentioned it depends what replay you look at. Good thing it was on TV, and what you guys are doing with the high school football showcase, again, every Saturday right here on KCWX. Most games throughout the season, including this one, start at 7 o'clock. Speaking of this one, some history being made here with your next matchup.
Yeah, Wagner and Sam Houston. First time these two teams have ever played each other. There's a lot of connections. A lot of the Wagner parents are Sam Houston alum. It's such a natural East Side rivalry, and it's never happened before on the football field. So Saturday night we'll have it live here on KCWX. First time ever, Sam Houston and Wagner.
Should be a fantastic game. What other contests throughout the week are you're going to be keeping an eye on? Yeah,
well, obviously tonight's game with O'Connor and Warren is really, really big for both teams. And then the big Friday night game, I think, is Reagan and Clemens. Reagan has such a tough schedule. They had a tough loss last week against Steele. This is the biggest challenge so far for Clemens, I believe. And so we'll find out where the Buffs are and where the Rattlers are headed into district play.
It took us this far into our little chat to get into Reagan and Steele from last week. You surprised at all by Steele, or is that Steele being Steele, bouncing back from a tough loss to get a win they needed to get early on?
Ironically, both teams played better. Steele lost their first game, but they played much better in their win. Reagan played better in their loss than they did in their win the previous week. But it's early in the season. I think they're both going to be making some noise before it's all said and done.
Yeah, totally agree. Judson, O'Connor, first 2 weeks in, any question in your mind that they're the class of the San Antonio area?
Well, it's still early. Yeah. I think talent-wise, I think Judson has as good a talent as they had last year and maybe even better in some areas. So I think they're definitely one to look out for, just as I had all season. I think once they really start clicking with Mike Chandler at quarterback and really getting used to him as their signal caller, that's an offense that's going to be hard to stop.
We asked this at the beginning of the season. Want to get your thoughts 2 weeks in. A team that you think kind of under the radar, because TSRN calls all the games. You guys are all over it. What team do you look at and say, look out for them? I would not be surprised if come the end of the year, they're sitting there at 8-2, 7-3, great district record, maybe reel off a couple of playoff wins.
Livernia. They had so much turmoil in that program over the last 2 or 3 years, but they've settled in. Coach Tabor has done a great job of getting the program settled down. Clayton Chadwick has been a real surprise, a pleasant surprise at quarterback, one of a true dual threat guy. And the Livernia Bears, I think, are back. I mean, they play LaGrange tomorrow night. That's a tough road game. But if they win that, I'd start keeping an eye on Livernia.
Bobby, thanks so much, man.
All right.
All right, Wagner, Sam Houston, right here, KCWX. Watch Bobby on the High School Football Showcase. Appreciate it, man.
All right, thank you.
You're watching Sports Tonight, San Antonio's only nightly 30-minute sportscast with exclusive sports coverage you won't find anywhere else.